Seated on the dais with me, the chairman of the Indian Steel Association, Dilip Omanji, Sajjan Jindal ji, TV Narendran ji, Atul Bhatt Saheb, Srimati Shoma Mandal ji, Abudai ji, Secretary General of the Indian Steel Association, Alok Sai ji, a person who has spent decades in this industry and who today will be the proud recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award. Seated with me here, Jiten Mehra ji, members of the Indian Steel Association, upstream, downstream contributors to the steel industry, and my friends from the media. I'm indeed delighted to be here at the third conclave of the Indian Steel Association. We've all come out from a very, very trying time post-COVID. And we're having this conclave, I believe, after a gap of 2 years. But suffice to say that our steel industry has come out of this very, very trying and difficult time stronger, more resilient, more global, more focused, and more committed. So my congratulations, first of all, to all our stakeholders present here. From raw material, to value addition, to finished product, to our customers. And indeed, our sector has witnessed a huge transformation. From initially being one of the core drivers of industrialization in our country. Because steel is the foundation or the knee of any economic superpower across the world. If you go back in history, whether one looks at Europe or the industrialization era in the United States of America, or closer to home, Southeast Asia, the Japanese economy, the Korean economy. Very key to that was the focus on the steel sector. And so therefore, from becoming one of the core drivers of industrialization to today, the steel sector driving the thought, the process that the Prime Minister has put forward of an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Again, the steel sector has a tremendous role to play in the actualization of that vision. India in the last 8 years has emerged globally. From being the fourth largest producer, we are today the second largest producer and the second largest consumer of steel. And we are today on a new sustainable growth path. A growth path envisioned by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji that looks at putting India as a world-class hub for infrastructure by our Shatabdi Kal, which is 2047. And therefore the whole focus on infrastructure, be it railways, airports, roads, our engineering area, automotive, capital goods, across the board. And it's a true unleashing of the animal spirits of our economy. And that true unleashing of the animal spirits of our economy is based upon more demand and more consumption. And that more demand and more consumption, as TV Narendran ji also said in his opening remarks, is creating opportunities for greater expansion and greater capacities. And I think today is the time that we need to take that pledge of putting in place a very strong policy foundation based on the three C's of commitment, collaboration, and confidence. And that 3C process of commitment, collaboration, and confidence is what will lead us into the next era of growth, of becoming one of the most powerful economies and strong economies on the global stage in the years to come. Today, the platform that we are standing on, ladies and gentlemen, has been unleashed by the massive reforms that have taken place in the last 8 years. Across the board. The envisioning of a national steel policy in 2017, which looked at a target by 2047 of 300 million tons per annum capacity formation in place. Looked at the drivers that need to be in place to be able to ensure that translation of steel capacity in our country. And along with the national steel policy, the domestically made in India steel policy for procurement in government tenders, to make sure that we give a fillip to our integrated steel producers, our secondary steel industry, to make sure that we rapidly move towards the thought of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And I'm glad to report to you today that this policy of domestically manufactured iron and steel has resulted in a saving of almost close to 22,400 crores in terms of imports into our country. So these are the foundational pillars. The NSP 2017, the DMISP, and according to these founding pillars, today India has moved tremendously. A capacity that has come in place in the last 8 years from a low of 100 million tons per annum has increased by 50% to 150 million tons per annum. Our capacity in terms of production has increased from 80 million tons per annum to almost 121 million tons per annum. Our per capita consumption of steel, which was at abysmal low of close to 58 kilos per person in India, lower than Venezuela, Ecuador, today in 8 years has grown by 50% to almost 78 kilos per capita. We have become from becoming a net importer of steel to a net exporter of steel. From the fourth largest producer of steel to the second largest producer of steel. This is the leverage and the transformation that we have seen in the last 8 years.